we'll still get started, but he'll be popping in here, but. So we're on session 7, which means we've been doing this, for a while now. What's been the biggest victories and challenges you guys have faced? And is there anything that you want to dive in on before we get started on today's session?
About the session or anything?
Just anything, just, here, actually, let's go ahead. So this is all our sessions.
I think one thing that's been kind of worrying me is like when I do get a listing, like how to like the logistics of it, like, and I know you sent me like the selling thing and then, I think that's probably my like biggest worry is.
So when you say logistics, like how to get it on the market?
Like,
Or,
I guess, I don't know, like the whole computer process of it.
so remember, like Harmony is gonna be your biggest thing. You're
Yeah,
gonna take care of the documents, they're gonna take care of everything else.
and then as you go through the process on the opportunities and go through the selling, do the documents pop up there, or is there a different?
There's that video I sent you, it shows you how to get to the video or to all the documents. Do you remember that PDF I sent you? Lots.
I know I have the selling. I'll have to look for it.
So Harmony, we call it like, they're like the ultimate like leverage giver for you guys. Because they do take care of so much stuff for you. So that would be the biggest one I would tell you to focus on is like, make sure you get onboarded with Harmony.
Yeah. I
And
feel all that.
all that good stuff, because they're gonna be the ones that take care of all that for you. Because our goal in creating leverage is that you guys are able just to go on appointments and close deals. Harmony will manage the transaction when it's under contract. They'll actually build the listing for you and things like that.
So when they do that and. So like. The buyer side deals with the title company, right?
Not necessarily. So on the purchase agreement, you specify who does the title. So it could be buyer or seller.
How do you decide who it is?
Usually nobody cares, but like sometimes the buyer wants to be in charge. I will always try to be in charge because there's some title companies I just don't like out there.
Oh, yeah, so you wanna be able to pick.
You want to grab a guy off right there.
So then when you pick the title company, then does Harmony do everything, like make all the calls and just tell you?
Correct,
like,
then they just
here's the
copy,
closing
right?
date
Yeah.
For,
Well, they'll work for you. You'll still talk to your client, but you won't have to make sure all the emails and all the deadlines, like Harmony's monitoring that for you. So you're kind of watching from a bird's eye view. You're not like the.
Do you use Harmony?
The team I'm on, we have our own transaction coordinator.
Okay, I would say that you still have to, keep track of everything.
And if that's your experience with them, make sure that you tell them, because
Yeah.
if that's the case, then they're not doing how they need to be.
Okay, yeah, I have that.
So always be honest with them, because that's how they'll get better. And lady, I can't remember.
Katie,
Katie.
yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah, so always let her know, I don't know if she owns it, but she's in charge,
Mhm.
but let her know, like, hey, my experience hasn't been that great, because that's how they're gonna get better. And because it should be, you have a good transaction coordinator, it should be,
Mhm.
you send it off and you just know things are getting done.
you just upload the documents and then
You
that's.
go to their website, you hit submit a contract, fill it out, and then they take the ball and run, and then you're just kind of watching from a bird's eye view.
For the contract, like say my client wants to close in 5 weeks, like can you give them like?
Well, that'll
what
be
it would
specified
like?
in the purchase agreement.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You get
I
to
didn't
choose
know
that
if,
as a
like-
buyer,
Okay.
as a buyer's agent, so make it a date that works for you and your buyer.
Mhm.
So look out like a month or so and then ask them, do you have anything going on? You're gonna be out of country, you're gonna, whatever, what do you got going on?
And understand the different types of loans, so as you're meeting with lenders and things, because a USDA loan could be 6, 8, 10 weeks, because it's got to go through all the
And
USDA.
that's why people don't like to use those, because I know people always like, it always says conventional loans.
Mhm.
Or
Yeah.
priority conventional.
Yeah,
loans.
so there, and I call it the hierarchy of financing, right? Cash is always king, then you got conventional, then FHA is not too bad, then you get to like VA, USDA. If you can do anything else, a lot of times sellers will choose those. But then you'll get some sellers, they'll say, hey, I want to take VA because I want to see the VA guideline. Yeah, these are just little things. That's why I always tell people, this is like a good year-long job before you really feel like you got your feet under you. Because there's all these like little intricacies you gotta do. But yeah, with Harmony, just be brutally honest with them, like be respectful with the, man, like. I'm paying you all this money, but I'm having to chase all this stuff down, like, what am I paying you for?
So they chase things down,
They should,
They should.
like they'll contact.
and they should be reaching out to you like, hey, don't forget your inspection due date's in like 3 days.
And do we coordinate like an inspection?
The first email that goes out, is like, hey, trying to earn this money, send it here, get your inspection scheduled, here's your inspector list, pick from.
So it's really good to have next steps.
Right.
So if you have next steps, as soon as you go under contract, next steps for your buyer. So I think that buyer wants to know, what do I need to do? So.
So I just have
Most
those Google
important thing.
Docs, I'll just copy and paste it and send it.
So Harmony does have like a templated email that they send,
Okay.
but I don't love it. So that's another thing that I want to just improve that process.
And then for
Little
earnest
things.
money, that was actually, I'm glad you brought it up, that's another, like, so say you're the buyer's agent and it's like, here's my $2,500. You write it up to the title company that
Kind of
does,
too old.
Yeah,
and then how do you get the money there?
you don't, I mean, I guess in my opinion, do you have the buyer do that?
So I always have them either mail it, I'll give them the address, they can either mail it or drop it off. If they, either way, I always saw them take a picture and I was like, you can cut the bottom part of the check off so your routing number and account numbers aren't on it. So I'm like, I'm fine with that, but give me a check,
Yeah.
like a copy of the check, so I have it.
And that should go out like in an email to them, and then that should be something that like you're having a conversation with when you're going, ready to go under contract. But they know it's a first time home buyer, like, you know, you're gonna need 1% earnest, you're gonna need money out for an inspection, because people may not know, guys, but if you're dealing with first time people, you have to pay $2,000 to secure that home, it's a $200,000 home. They get it back at closing. They also may not, they're gonna have to show out $400 or $500 for an inspection.
That's where explaining everything. So I always tell people, I'm like, how do you guys explain earnest money? Like, I know you guys haven't done a deal yet.
Just skin in the game.
How would you explain it?
I would just say earnest money is for the seller. If something that you did as the buyer cost them time or money, or if you just decide to pull out and they have to put it back on the market. But at the end of the day, as long as you go through the sale and like, there's no huge, like, things that pop up in the inspection, because those are reasons you can get your earnest money back, right? If there's like big defects that come back. But as
But
long
you
as
have
you
to give
don't
the
get,
seller the opportunity to fix them. If you read the purchase agreement, that isn't there.
and then I'll just say it's a credit for you at the end, so you're not losing it, it's
That's
not,
money you
yeah.
bring.
Perfect.
Kind of what she said, the credit for you at the end, we should be typically 1% down, there's some credit for you at the end, so we're not losing it, we're not just paying them. Kind of what she said,
Perfect. Yeah, I just explained it, I'm like, hey, this is a good faith. deposit. So that's my nice way of saying it. And I do explain it, and I always equate it to dominoes. I'm like, what we're doing is we got a chain of dominoes. So from here to the end of that table, we got X amount of dominoes. And oh, Josh Brooks, he's got a deal now. Clients buying on contingency, but then they have to sell to buy his house on contingency, and it's like 3 contingent, I mean, it's like this whole chain of dominoes, like they got it perfect. So this is why, like, you put good faith deposit down, because we're starting with a chain action. I'm buying this house, which means this person's gotta sell me their house, or this person a house, which means they gotta go find a house to buy, which means. So if this deal falls apart, the rest of these deals may fall. So it's not so many people, and I get why it's a lot of money. You just get so wrapped up in looking at it for yourself. You're not realizing how this is affecting other deals. But we need to understand this chart starts a whole chain reaction. And I explain that to my clients, and then I do talk to them like, here's how this process works. And I've learned how to explain the inspection process 2 or 3 times before you even go under contract. Because in the beginning, I was like, man, this is like the biggest pain in the butt. Like, it's causing so much chaos. But I realized when I was like really reflecting, I'm like, man, I'm just not educating my buyers what this is about. Because they're like, hey, here's the response or report,
Fix it.
fix everything. Like,
So the
Then it became a battle.
inspections, you felt like caused a lot of
Yeah,
chaos.
but then I like looked at myself, like just kind of looked at like replayed some deals. I'm like, man, well, if I'd have done this, if I'd have done that, like, so now I get to like when I start in my buyer consultation. I really explain like, hey, here's the point of the inspection. And don't be afraid, I forget what page it is, I think it's page 4 of the purchase agreement. It's an outline of what the inspection's for. It gives a definition of a major defect. Right below that, it says you have to give the seller, so Jesse got his first listing under contract, which by the way, congrats, Jesse. He's on mine, I'm not just pointing over there. So let's just say the buyer does an inspection, it's a nice listing, I don't think there'll be anything, but they can't just submit a mutual release after the inspection. Per the purchase agreement that his sellers and those buyers signed, they have to give the seller the opportunity to remedy the situation. Now, let's say the roof's leaking, there's mold, the roof's leaking. True major defect, right? Like, this is a health hazard, the roof's failing. This seller's like, nope, we're good. All right, now the buyer can be like, hey, mutual release, they get the earnest money back. I was actually negotiating one on my listing last night, and this lady, elderly lady moving here from Florida, she gave us a list of like 15 things. Light fixtures loose, this light bulb's burned out, all this stuff, and I was just like, I told my people, I'm like, I got somebody else, like $700, they're gonna come in. They'll just plow through this list, I'm like, I'll make her feel it's gateway.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah. But it's not been lived in for a while, you know, there's a wasp nest, like wasp castle, like above the garage door, cause it's been vacant for so long, I mean, it's, so I'm just like, all right, if you guys are okay with that, I mean, I know it's nitpicky stuff, but $700 just
Do
go in and
things like that, do they get tacked on the closing cost or do they just pay?
pay out of pocket.
Okay,
Because what you wanna do on the buyer side is you want proof, like a receipt. To show that wasn't the seller just in there, and this is why verbiage matters in your inspection response. Cause you wanna specify who's doing the work. Licensed electrician, not just fix this outlet, licensed electrician. But back to this whole inspection thing, like. When you're getting into the earnest money conversation. This is a great chance to explain, hey, this is what the inspection's for, and this is what they're looking. You know, they're gonna make notes of lots of things. But this is what qualifies as a major defect, and then here's the process. So I explained that in the consultation, and when we're getting ready to write an offer. After we wrote the offer, like when I'm reviewing the terms with them, I explain what those 14 days are. So now by the time we even submitted an offer. They've heard from me 2 or 3 times what the purpose of that inspection is, and it just starts saving so much headache. So I can be like, hey, if you remember, this is what we're looking for, so when we get the report back. I start the conversation with that exact script. Hey, as we spoke about before, this is what we're looking at. And let's go through, make your notes, and let's talk in, this evening, we'll compare notes. So then my buyers go through it, come up with their questions, concerns, I put together my list, we get on the phone, and then we compare lists. And I've learned that just saves so much headache. Because I've educated them along the way, but I do talk about like, hey, this is $400, you're not getting back. It could be more if you have to do a radon test and all these things.
Significantly cheaper than doing stuff in a house.
do they
Correct.
ever get upset with you about that?
Which party?
I guess either one, like not realizing they have these extra expenses.
No, because if you educate them, that's why you want to talk about it before they even write an offer. Like in the buyer, and I kind of feel it out, because sometimes a buyer consultation, you can feel like they're getting really overwhelmed right away. So we're talking today about open houses. So this could be a great way you're meeting a first-time home buyer. Like at Gateway, there's probably a ton of first-time home buyers coming through, so that's kind of a perfect first time. So this is actually a good segue to today's session, because this is a good place. You might be doing the consultation at the open house. But in that consultation, you want to walk them through the first few steps of the process. And that, it's why pre-approval is important. Then you get to, hey, here's how process works. Here's how earnest money works. Here's how inspections work, but is it an expense or is it an investment? So kind of going to your question, I always tell people, hey, this is an investment in the house that you're gonna be living in. You save one big repair by having this inspection done, the inspections paid for themselves. If nothing's found, now you have peace of mind, you got a solid.
And you got
And
a
that's a worthwhile investment. And it's
40-page document showing all the things you need to fix now that you're a homeowner.
correct. I call it the honey-do list.
It's nice, I mean, it's nice,
Yeah.
really. It's
Well, I
like,
call it the honey-do list. I'm like, hey, here's the major defects. And then the rest of that report, if it's bothering you, you got your honey-do list and you move it.
Yeah.
Make a priority and just go through the report as time goes on, check it out. So I talk about, hey, we're gonna negotiate the offer. We're gonna make sure that you're comfortable with this offer we're submitting. Then after that, you got 2 protections built. We're gonna get an inspection. Let's make sure we're getting you a safe home. Then the bank is gonna order you appraisal. Let's make sure we're not overpaying for this. So you got these protections built in, so you got kind of a 3-step. Let's negotiate our terms that you're comfortable with. So if you're comfortable with them, then you should be happy. We get through the inspection. Now we know we got a safe house or the things that are wrong are now fixed. Now we're good. And then the bank's saying, hey, your value's good. And then the appraiser can even call our appraisers. They're not doing a home inspection. They might just visually see something. And they want to fix. So you know you got a good deal on a house. You're happy with the house, the location, and it's a safe house.
What happens if like the house overpriced, not overpriced, but like, let's say we're paying 150 and the appraiser comes in and he goes, it's worth 190.
you say congratulations, you
Yeah.
just say
Do they
40
ever
grand on
do
a
that?
house.
I feel like
A lot
appraisals
of time-
for what you're asking. and
Well,
it's like-
they do that for a couple of reasons. To answer your question,
Nothing, yeah, I was thinking.
high five, we got a deal. We got 20,000
My buyer was
equity.
Super
Yeah.
excited that, yeah, the appraiser came back.
Seller
1,500
probably
more.
It's a 2-way street. Yep.
I said they're agent.
Do you-
But the seller never sees it. They
Oh,
can
they
ask,
see
but the
that?
buyer has to give permission.
Okay.
So the buyer owns the appraisal, the buyer owns the inspection report. So to share with the seller, you have to get buyer authorization.
Yeah.
Because they paid for it. We had nothing to do with it. We guided them. But it's the buyer's property and you got to get authorization to share. So let's say a deal falls apart and you want to say, can I use this inspection report? Most time buyers are like, it's fine. Great. Post it, but you have to get something in writing that says the buyers are paid.
Okay.
But yeah, so the reason most appraisers stop at the value is they don't want to cause an argument. Their job is to go to the bank and say, we're good.
It is worth what.
So it's never a true appraisal. Like if you called an appraiser today, you're not moving, you're like, I just want to know if my house is worth it. They'll go through every nook and cranny. They'll be like, all right, it's $212,500. Let's say it's under contract at 200. The appraisal is because you're selling it. Well, we can debate all day long, should the appraiser get the report or the purchase agreement? They do. They shouldn't, but they do. Their goal is just to hit that number, go to the bank, say you're. That's why they stop on it. And then they also don't want to cause arguments. So if they say, hey, it's worth $30,000 more, the seller finds out, now the seller might not want to sell. Now you got a whole different bag of issues. And they'll probably get sued and lose.
Yeah.
Because sellers can be sued for specific performance and they've never won and I've ever seen. So if they decide for no valid reason not to sell, buyer can take them to court and they'll generally lose and be forced to move.
See all those legal fees, it's like,
I mean, whether or not the buyer sues is a different story, but if it's a house they really want. Bet your bottom dollar they're going to sue. And the seller gets stuck with the fees because they'll be the ones that lose. So not only did they get forced out of their house,
is that
Because
how
they-
it works?
a lot of times,
Whoever,
usually it's whoever loses,
Oh, yes, yeah.
because they're the ones that cause the lawsuit. And they're in the wrong.
do you ever have clients that want a house so bad that they offer a lot more and you're like, hey, you're
Yes.
gonna have to cover the gap because it will not appraise for
Mhm.
this?
No, because I've had offers turned down where they said they won't provide appraisal gap, but I've had where the offer is just so ridiculous that the agent's like, there's no way. This is going to appraise, like, I can't in good faith go to my seller and say, let's take this. I disagree with that methodology, why do you think that is? Like,
Does it, when you put an offer in and say like $20,000 more and you know it's not worth that, can you write in there, the buyer has the funds to cover the gap?
Yeah, that's the appraisal gap document.
What if they don't do that?
Then it's got to appraise for that value, and when you don't include that, that's when I get calls like that and say, you know, hey. There's no way, like, I can't go to my seller and say, you should accept this.
Right,
I disagree with that mentality. I'm like, if this is the highest offer.
what do you?
What's again, I don't tell my clients to do anything. I give them their options. So you're my seller. She gave an offer, she gave an offer. She's at asking price. She's like, you got the best house I've ever seen.
Yeah.
She offers 70 grand over, but no appraisal gap. I'll be like, all right, offer one. Here it is. Asking, we're happy because this is the number you want. Hers, no appraisal gap, all the same terms, but she's 275 versus 2. But here's the pros and cons.
USDA buyer.
Yeah. But I'll give you the pros and cons of both. But the thing I'll kind of push for, I'm like, all right. Let's say we take hers, appraisal comes at 201. We still came out $1,000 ahead of her. So why not try to take all the money possible?
Yeah.
So I usually, my advice, depending on, there's other terms you gotta consider, USDA versus all. Let's go all cash. But my advice by and large is going to be. Take the highest offer, if the terms are clean and clear. See what happens. I mean, because in my listing point, I'm like, if I sell for 200, that's the only offer, are you gonna be happy? And if no, then let's talk about it, because I can't guarantee you're gonna get multiple offers. So I wanna make sure whatever we list. And Jesse and I talk about this with his listing, because we're talking to his neighbor, right? It's like, hey, we only bring you this one offer, are you happy? So I wanna make sure that you're not gonna say, no. Cause I don't wanna bring you a full price offer and you're like,
Right,
we've seen it. We've seen it, because some agents will go and be like, well, if we price it here, will get 5 offers. I
morning,
can't price 5 offers. I mean, I can assume all the houses in the neighborhood have multiple offers, there's nothing saying. Here's one.
yeah, you wouldn't wanna.
So I
Promise
not only
what
don't
you
promise
can
what
do.
I can guarantee,
Mhm.
and because otherwise you're gonna be walking yourself into it. The whole world. So those are all great questions, but then again, these are the little intricacies. It's like educating our clients is so key. It's like explain what that inspection is for. You can go to contract classes on Wednesdays and be able to, especially that purchase agreement, read through each section and be able to explain it in layman's terms is so important. So because it's one of those, you want to be able to say, this section is kind of talking about this. The big one, I kind of wish I had purchase agreement on that. The big one that people overlook is the possession section. So the big thing in that section is the house has to be in the same or better condition as of the date the offer was accepted.
How do you prove that? Like, if, say, I bought Stacy's house and you come back in, there's a giant wine stain. Like, I would think that's a big, because you can't get it out. I mean, and it's right in the middle of the carpet. Like, how do you prove that? Do you take pictures? Do you do like?
You'll have pictures in the MLS.
Okay.
So there will be those.
Video or,
So you could do a video. The big ones that we've seen are people are moving out and they get holes in the wall. Like, hey, the couch leg, like punctured the drywall. Obviously, that wasn't fair. The big one though is people switching out appliances. And I think we've talked about this kind of situation before. And when Ming was in here, he had a situation where people switched out the fridge. Well, when we went under contract, this is the fridge that was there, and that's the fridge we sent you one. So that's the one we see more or less that people will start switching out. That's the one that's causing a little bit more issue. It's like, hey, if you don't want that washer dryer, say you gotta make it clear as day.
that you're taking.
Like, hey, we'll put an old washer dryer, like the house we're going to, we're gonna take these units. Cause the units in the house we're buying are old, so we'll put our new ones here, but we'll give you these old ones back.
Yeah.
So you gotta make it clear as day if you're gonna have a listing and that's gonna be happening. I'm good. Alright. As we get going, and there will be classes coming up, I think we got a win with sellers class coming up in the near future. And then we got a win with buyers class, and again, all these kind of classes, but it's like, think about when you guys were buying your houses, what would have been really beneficial for you guys to hear from your agent?
We didn't even use an agent, we went straight to Granite Ridge. This was right before I went to, I was in class at the same time.
All right.
But now that I think about it, I think that as an agent and as someone, if I was working with someone that was building,
Yeah,
I look for stuff like, I mean, this isn't even my job, this is more of like, spec, but I feel like some things were done correctly, and I notice it now, in my house, like, for example, like water catch is supposed to go under the sidewalk, now it just fills with water, it's like still straight up and down. Just little things like that that the builder can do correctly. I forgot what the main question that you asked.
did you do an inspection?
Yeah, we did do the third party inspection.
Surprised that wasn't fun.
Yeah, so like in the winter time, like it's sticking straight up, so it's supposed to drain and go to the end of the yard. And I look at the cat, like just like that, look at cat, look, ice full of water.
Hmm.
You're saying, right? I would have to re-dig
Yeah.
under the sidewalk or something, it'd be a pain.
It would be, I mean, it's doable, I've had it done, but it is a pain.
I
and
heard
It's
they're
not
not
cheap.
very good.
Yeah,
I've heard they're not very good.
I've heard a couple of complaints so far.
Yeah, every builder will be, you
Yeah.
know, showing some old top homes this weekend, we're in the model home and, you know, this lady comes in with her, and it was like half the house were just normal houses, half were like condos, villas kind of thing. And they said their cabinets were falling off the wall the second time, so. And new builds have their own set of issues, just like existing homes, so. That's where those warranties are so important, you know what I mean, because new builds will come with a 2-year, 10-year warranty. So all that should be covered, you know, so. But still paying. But a lot of people, when they do new builds, won't get third-party inspections, and I always encourage it.
I got a guy I follow on Facebook, Gold
Yeah.
Inspections, and he's always walking through new builds, you know, you seen the videos at all?
I don't follow him, but I follow a different inspector, he's in like, I don't even know how I came across the
Yeah.
page, but he posts videos all the time from new builds.
Completely wrong, so
Oh,
I
no.
always get the third party inspection.
See, I would know, I wouldn't know, like,
I wouldn't see why you
it's
wouldn't.
like a last house to me.
But that's our job, is to help them discover these pieces that are wrong. And this is also why I encourage our clients to go out when they're doing a new build. Let's say you're my buyer, and we're building from the ground up. I would encourage you, like, once you get the keys, like, when it's, before there's even a door on it, go by it at least once a week, and I'll do the same thing. Check on things, see how the walls are coming together, see if there's any questions you got. Because you might be able to find something, "Hey, that doesn't look quite right." Let's ask the question. Because once everything's sealed up, you won't see those things, right? So you'll be able to ask, like that inspector has problem, like you showing in the roof where like the rafter didn't, like, so there's the main beam, right? And then the rafters like hit here, there's like a 2-inch gap. It's like they cut the board short or something.
There for nothing.
Yeah, so it's like, it wasn't even like attached to hold the weight, so he's like, if there's like a big snowfall, which in Missouri, it's gonna happen. So then it's like, you gotta reinforce, you know what I mean, so these are things
Yeah.
you wanna be able to catch, so. And that's the nice thing about new builds, is you can kind of watch them all come together, you buy an existing home, you can't see in the walls, you can't, you know, so. There's an element of risk either which way. All right,
And, please.
open houses. It's one of the best and most fruitful ways to do lead generation, and most important, too. You can run $20, $30, $40 worth of ads a couple times a month. Yeah, we ran one for Lone Oak. I did yesterday, we got about 15 leads online, so that's a very low,
How long did you run that?
4 days, $50. But a ton of people showed up too. So these are one of the best ways that you can pick up new leads. What's nice about this is these are cold leads per se, but I call them more like warm leads, because at least they're interested in real estate in one way, shape, or form, right? Even if it's a nosy neighbor. Well, that's a relationship to build and nurture, right?
Yeah.
Because you're gonna get it. So. Going back over this, so we're kind of talking about this today, like, you know, we're halfway through the lead generation process. How do you guys feel like your database is coming along?
Mine did good, mine's doing better than what it was, so I ran like $100 worth of leads last month on a couple of different open houses. I think all together, I probably got about 40 leads.
Nice.
That's first name, last name, phone number, and email. So if you remember, my database started out really small anyway, so That's great. So
It is.
if I do that, you know, let's say 201 club, so.
Yeah.
If I do that, let's just say a couple of months, and I'm actually reaching out and making.
That's the key right there.
Yeah, like you said, you don't want to just add numbers, you want to actually be nurturing. So if I'm doing that and getting that type of people coming in every month, I feel like that'd be great. That'd be good. You know, my dad did pretty good last year. So. But before it was hard, I was like, how are you adding 10 people a day? So I had to start running that ad. I do open houses, so I was gonna get a lot of leads from open houses and stuff too. But I did too good recently.
It's the same.
Same.
I feel pretty good about my database. I've had a lot of internet leads in the last few weeks. Really been trying to, everyone that I have conversation with, put them in, and then if it's anything real estate related, like creating an opportunity, it's been a big change. I didn't do that before, and it's been helpful to kind of see that, and it's also a reminder. Hey, good job for them, need to keep them engaged or whatever, so that's helpful.
And this is why this is right after that, grow your database section and talking about our database, how to organize it. Because like you said, once you start running ads around open houses, because a house drives the action for most people. So once you start doing these kinds of things, your database is gonna grow big. So whether you're doing what you're doing open houses, doing something, people are gonna start coming in pretty quick. You have to have a system around it. You gotta have all these things built. Because if you just start bringing a bunch of people in with no system, no organization, it's gonna be pure chaos. But that's why this is now coming up after that. So if you feel like your database is struggling, you feel like there's no system or organization to it, let's talk about it. Before we get going crazy on bringing new people in. Because bringing 5 people into an unorganized, unsystematized database will be chaos. That's organized and systematized. You could bring 50 people in every week and be just fine. Because you know, as soon as they come in, there's a smart plan that automatically starts talking to them. Once they respond, you know, you can start calling them. For whatever we decide to do. We need to know exactly what bucket they're gonna go into after our first conversation. And then that bucket's gonna determine how often we reach out to them. And if we're bringing in 50, 60 people a week, there's gonna be a variety of different people on the different buckets. Not everybody's gonna be a rain now.
I like the smart side. I know you talked about that a lot. So when you get new interviews, is your first point of contact with Twilio? Then it's just gonna
It
text?
just depends. So I'm trying to use Twilio more.
Okay.
Because I can't necessarily reach out. So I'd rather Twilio, hey, thanks so much for reaching out about 887 Low Note. You know, what caught your eye about the house, or do you want to set up a tour, any questions I can answer, or something, you know, it's gonna be short and sweet.
If you don't hear back from that, would you call them like maybe the next day?
That'd be, they'd get a text and an email from me
Okay.
immediately.
Yep.
And then there would be call reminders and maybe a follow-up text on day 2, day 3. Hey, haven't heard back from you,
Mhm.
you know, are you still interested?
When do you stop? I mean, you never stop, but when do you like, okay?
Never stop.
Okay.
So the ideal situation is like the first week you reach out every single day, at least once a day.
Okay.
Week 2, maybe you go down to 5 days a week. Week 3, down to 4. Week 4, you go down to maybe twice.
Gotcha.
Then after that, make a call. I'd say at least once a week, they should still be hearing from you.
Okay.
Could be houses, could be, hey, are you still interested? It could be phone calls. We don't know because we've never talked to them. So you gotta just keep trying different methodologies.
What time is too late to call? Might get a lead at 7:30 and I'll call
I'd say no later than 8 p.m.
you. Okay.
But if they registered at 7:30, what does that tell you?
They're thinking about right then and you should.
Speed delete, no, within reason. Because if they register at 2 in the morning, they might be laying in bed with their spouse right next to them. You don't want to call them.
Yeah.
So I'd say like 8 o'clock, but that's where Twilio could kick in. But even Twilio, when you look at like the fine print, they register at 2 in the morning, it's not gonna send it out to 8 a.m.
Okay. Automatically. Okay.
Privacy or privacy, the spam rules, I forget.
Gotcha.
Oh,
So do you make your Twilio, like your smart plan specific to a house?
I try and make it more generic.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You can, but if you do make it the right way, you could just duplicate it and then change out the address if you wanted to. And include a link to the house. So you could have it be exactly the same script and all you're doing is changing the address
Yeah.
and changing out the link.
Okay.
So you could do that.
Okay, how do you know? Cause I mean, you'd have to like trigger tag that.
Right, when you build the actual ad itself, you'd put in the tag, so it could be
Oh, it'd be a specific
address
tag for
specific.
that, for trigger. Okay, that makes sense.
And what we're doing on the team I'm on, it'd be the address and then the weekend of the open house. 'Cause again, we might run multiple open houses, and it may be different people running the open houses. And whoever's running the open house that ad's for gets the lead. So if you're running it and you're doing it, because the team creates the ad for us, right? So we want it to be specific to you. But I would definitely tag it with the address and maybe even a month, if not the actual date.
So, like, say you have too many open houses and you ask someone to do it for you, those leads that come from that house, are they yours or are they the agent that you asked to?
Yeah, I generally let whoever runs the open house take the leads for the ads they spend.
Yes.
So I know I already get the listing, so I already know I'm selling that side. You guys are hustling to get the buyers. But that'd be a conversation for the agent. So if you reach out to John Smith, agent, make sure you guys are on the same page. Don't just assume.
And then, okay, one other question. So when you have someone do open house for you, like we compensate each other, right? Like that's, no, we just
I
do.
mean, you
Get
can't,
the
I
leads.
don't, that's.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's done a ton of open houses for me. I've not paid him anything, but he's picked up some buyers.
Yeah. It's a win-win.
Yeah.
That's a win-win. Like if you go show some houses. for
Cause
some-
another seasoned agent told me that. I won't even name who it was, but that's why I thought it was like.
Some do. I mean, again, it's a personal preference. And
Okay,
It's like a
I
last
thought
minute
it's like-
thing, you know?
but that would have to go through like KW. I mean, it should, right? Like if you're paying someone to just show them.
Been about $100 or whatever. Like, there's people that show houses and get paid, you know, like, hey, can you show houses for me this week? I got 50.
I signed up.
It's really nice to have
Too. It's like-
partners for that.
We've done it for like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, here. in town.
Yeah, Billy shows houses for me sometimes.
Yeah.
I would do the same for her. And so, yeah, I mean, usually we just, you know, we pay each other and, you know, and, yeah, I'm all about
Especially since
helping.
I'm right next door to you. There's just people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, but that's when you're talking about this stuff with the agents, they call, hey, can you show houses for me? Ask those questions. And, but by and large, like, if I gave him 50 open houses, he only closes one deal, but makes $8 grand. And that's so worthwhile for those 49 other open houses, right?
I get leads, you get leads from the open houses, so.
You get
So
to
he's got
talking to
4 or
people.
5 for me, and he's probably got half a dozen leads that he's picked up from him. Like actual good quality people he's talked to.
Right.
No, it might be 3 years before they transact, might be next month, who knows? But still people for his database that he has to talk. So to me, that's the value there.
For sure, yeah.
You know what I
Wow.
mean? So, but again, it's like,
So like I did an open house for Brigham a few weeks ago on Union Chapel Road. This is a good example. A young couple came in, they were at 24 and 26. I was fascinated by them. They're like, Dad, we don't like this house. We want to look at some more. Can you take us? We like you. Yeah, so we've been looking at some pretty cool houses, $500,000, $600,000 homes, just because I was in the right spot at the right time at the open house for Brigham. So if they transact, that'd be
That's a great
a
check.
great payment for doing that open house. So, works out.
so and that's a perfect segue into this because, you know, what we're gonna be talking about today is like best practices. What should you be doing in it? How do you prepare in depth for them? 'Cause again, if we don't do this part right, what can we do? You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of a waste of 2 hours, 3 hours. If we're not gonna take these seriously, then just don't do them. That's my honest to God tip for you. Because these are such a great mechanism to pick people up and to do it. Then we need to be ready for a lot of different scenarios. And that's what we'll be diving into today. And you've not done open houses yet.
No,
Have you ever gone to an open house like when you and your family were looking?
no.
And you've done open houses?
Yeah. And I know the last, like, class was last week, right? That you did, that,
Real
because you do
Oh,
all,
Thursday, yeah.
and that's the, what, second Thursday of the month?
So, is that what that was? Yeah.
So, and what, my car was in the shop in
Yeah.
November, so I'm definitely gonna be in March.
And if you get something before then, we'll talk, because I got everything written out and things like that.
Okay, yeah, that's like my worst fear. It's like.
But here's the thing, like, this is where we gotta do like a lot of fake it till you make it in this job, right? Just like when we're talking about your stuff, you're a more veteran agent than most of the people online or in here. But even for you, it's just like, let's just Let's just be bold, let's put ourselves out there and got 2 appointments.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It can be just that simple, but it's really a fake it till you make it business.
We get to appointments.
I made the phone calls.
Yeah,
She tweaked her script by like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I didn't really, my internet leads, they were coming through.
What kind of ads do you know? Looking for sellers or you looking for
So
buyers?
they're like reload, they're like internet armadillo leads that came from like
Oh,
reload.
okay, yeah,
So they're like a referral, pay at closing,
yeah.
essentially.
Can I pick on or share our story?
Sure.
So we're in her coaching session, one-on-one session, and she showed me like, hey, here's what I'm saying. I said, all right, this isn't bad. It's not bad. It's a good start. But then we just kind of whiteboarded it for the lack of a better term. It's like, yeah, we can't get them on a hamster wheel. We never really get them off that hamster wheel. It's like they go over here, then they get into your database and now you're sending them over here a little bit. And then at the end of the letter or the email, it's kind of like, hey, if I can be of help. We need to be in charge. We need to say, when are we meeting? So we tweaked the script a little bit and later that day, she's like, I got you. But it basically got bold enough just to ask for the point, as opposed to, hey, call, if you want to meet Tracy, just give me. It was like, hey, when are we meeting? That's all you have, let's get going, let's go.
Is that what you said? When are we meeting?
Yeah, I was just like, would you have time this week? Like, or I'm, you know, do you
Dude,
have time
specify
Thursday?
in
Or-
the
yeah.
frame.
Assumption, you got the lead, that
Yeah.
you are ready.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah, but they
specifying, hey,
contracted.
what's a good day this week for us to stand on? Now you're specifying, hey, when is a good time to meet? That could be 6 months. It's like, hey, what's a good time this weekend? Or, hey, what's a good time this week? Yeah, now you're just, this, you know, what we call an assumptive close. It's not if we're meeting, it's obviously we're meeting.
Mhm, right?
That's good,
So that's where it's like, it's not pushy.
because I would do the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, most people do, but it's like, we have a lot to offer. These people are trying to go somewhere.
Right.
Let's help them get from A to B. But clients aren't gonna be, they're open and talking to us. They're not gonna beat down our door to meet. We have to be bold enough to ask for their help. Not leave it in their court, take control. If you don't take control, then your predicted income is gonna be variable. So you're gonna just, oh, somebody called. That's not much of a strategy. Cause you have zero control. You ask boldly for the appointment, within a day, you already got 2 appointments. Within a month, maybe you have 6. You close 2 of those, you made $10,000-12,000 for the month.
You said you use Armadillo?
So I didn't get the leads. They came through like a reload. So they're like a paper quote and paper.
There's like a whole
Like,
different,
there's so many, like,
there is.
Yeah.
things that
You just
pay
get it.
for.
We can't have a class because there's so many ways. The biggest thing is you gotta look at how you wanna run your business. What are you willing to invest in your business? What methodologies, like what kind of marketing do you wanna do for your business? And then we can build a plan around that. But there'd be no way to do a class around that, cause that'd be a 7-week class and we'd still only get like halfway through the list.
I mean, I don't wanna pay for lead outright, because I'm a newer agent. I would, but I'll do a referral fee at close, any day, so that's what I just try to focus on. Google and, you know, read other things that people do that have pay at closing.
So yeah, just in our one-on-ones, we can dive into it, but it's like, that's why I always encourage you guys. That's why I shared that 150 ways to prospect, because there are so many ways. Yeah, just, that's the methodology she chose. Maybe I'll for you. Though. Maybe you want to focus more on buyers because buyers like you. You know, like I always say, like Heather Bolton hates buyers. Everything she does marketing wise is to get sellers.
They got me busy right now. Dang,
But
man.
that, see, to me, I like that. I like
Buyers
going
do.
out and seeing the houses with them. Some people don't, but she's also got I think 4 kids under the age of like 7 or something. So she wants to be home. She wants to be
Mhm.
understandable. She wants to be home. We, you know, like listings, you can be, this is why we teach leads, listings, leverage, right?
Yeah.
Leads just, it's more per hour that you're making, so. All right, so back to open houses. So capturing leads with open house, we're gonna be talking about, and your best practices, prepare, prospect, and pursue. We'll go over recaps, so. End of the session, what are the benefits of an open house? We've kind of already hit on those. Identify the best practices. Okay. You went from online to in person.
You did.
There you go. Is that for you? And then lastly, be prepared to host an open house. So the best practices, I'll say this, for the folks online and for the folks here, like, it's gonna be different. Your experience you're gonna get at your open houses will be different. And that's okay, because it should be around your personality. Okay, but with that said, please do not be the person that's just like, want the house now. See, it can't be that casual. We need to engage with them. And he did an open house with me yesterday for a little bit. And we had some good coaching. And I want to try to do that more and more. There's just so many people all over the place, but I'll start posting open houses I'm doing. If people want to come join, kind of shadow. You know, I don't want like 15 people, but I would like put it out there. But it is such a good way to do this and lead generate that it could be a very powerful mechanism, but I want you guys to put your own spin. How are we gonna interact with it? But at the end of the day, we need to make it all about them. Like, what even brought them out to this house? What's their ultimate goal? And then try to capture their information. Those are kind of around whatever you build for your experience at an open house, those should be your biggest things. So what brought them out? What's got them motivated to move? And then capture their information. But nothing else about your business will have as big of an impact as the number of leads you have. Like I said, this will be one of the most affordable ways that you guys can lead generate. Again, I ran a $50 ad, got 15 new leads or so,
For listing or
or just around the open house. So some of those people
Oh.
might be, because this was definitely a move up kind of house. So maybe they got their first home that they ever bought that they're gonna need to sell to buy this. Or whatever happens to be. We talked to somebody who's coming here potentially to be a pastor. Fortunately, we didn't cut, they were in and out too quick, but they're moving from the Warsaw area. Well, that could be a listing opportunity, you know, for them to move here. So that's close enough. I'll drive over there and put his hand in the arts. Yes. Or refer it out to one of you. But again, it's that whole opportunity, right? So you just never know where it's gonna go. And I've shared this before, but Mike Hillary had an interesting spin when he was here teaching and. You know, for being a regional tech guy that's never done real estate, it was just an interesting space. Like, where do all sellers start? Buyers. So he's like, if you wait to talk to them when they're ready to sell, it may be too late, because they may have already found a house to buy.
And you can save money by running one ad.
Right. Yeah. And we had that story yesterday. They ended up writing an offer, by the way.
Which one?
The people that have Parkinson's.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Or
they have an
55.
agent?
We still talk to them for an hour.
Yeah, they were there forever.
Yeah, maybe more. And they call other family members in, so they're waiting for them to roll up, and then they call more people. But it was a very unique situation. You know, the dad had Parkinson's, they need to be able to take care of him. They're kind of, let's get everybody's opinion, like, will this work for everybody? And one of the, I guess there's a friend of the family, lived in the front of the neighborhood, and so, but we're treating them like gold anyway, right? Because what if they end up not liking this map? Why bring this whole couple up, or this whole family up? They got started because they're looking for houses on Zillow, and she's like, found the most perfect house, had an in-law suite, its own entrance, its own kitchen, it was basically like an apartment attached to the house. That's what even got them going. They wrote an offer, got their house listed, then they lost out because their house didn't sell. Well, then the ball was rolling at that point. So again, they were buyers first, and then they became a seller. So Matt was their agent that got them the house they were in. So it's kind of, he must have done a good job, because they wanted to keep using it.
Yep.
But it just proves the buyers first.
So when you say you ran a $50 ad, well, what's the ad?
About the open house.
No, I understand. that.
Oh, just
Where
come
is it
join us.
advertised?
Oh, Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger.
Okay,
And you can do Google Ads, but I figured most eyes are on social media.
okay.
So I do it there, and it gets the most amount of views and clicks and things like that, so. So, but getting started on this, dispel limiting beliefs in business. So I don't have a listing to hold an open house. This is why I teach you guys, get in the MLS, search active listings with our company. Start calling, don't text them, don't email, give them a call, be bold. You're gonna try to do an open house for me, and I feel like you're not gonna be bold enough, like, why would I put you at that open house? And build that relationship, because now maybe you become their go-to as soon as they have a listing. A lot of our more veteran agents, they, you know, they got enough business, they'd rather just share the wealth, right? They'd rather you guys do the open houses. Well, you do a great job for them, you might be their first call. So now you get open house opportunities all the time.
And
I don't,
about different brokerages, opening up.
somebody else asked me, I forget who else asked me.
I need another one that would be okay with it, I guess.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't think, I mean, technically, I don't see why we have an issue with it, but it's kind of like, let's share the wealth inside the
Yeah.
doors kind of thing.
Sure.
But I don't see why NAP has a check legally, I don't think there's an issue.
Yeah, Horton said, RJ would be a home, he said that we could do stuff at some of their homes as well.
Okay.
I was just throwing it out there, I like it.
Yeah, for sure, but that's not even a competing brokerage though, at that point, you know, that's just, let's get out into a new building. I don't have signs yet, see if that agent does, and Graphic X or JW Signs here in town, they can get you one in a couple days. And they have some probably generic ones, people.
Yep.
I may not know answers to the questions visitors have, I'll guarantee you that'll be the case. You know, hey, Stacy, that's a great question, let me find out, and I'll give you a call this afternoon, hey, you might put your phone number right here, and now I got your information right here.
You say graphic.
Graphic X, I'll send you that. Cause they're, and actually, when you get onboarded with Mal and everything's done with the state, that'll be, she'll help you design your full signs.
Okay.
And that'll be the company we will run through. So open houses don't really work because most people look online. Where do you think they learn about the open houses? It's online. But if that's your mentality, then don't do it. But I'll guarantee you you're wrong. I won't feel safe. So we talked about this a lot last week. Don't be afraid to take somebody with you. Listen to your gut. So I shared this story. Now, I won't give agents names, but I shared this last Thursday when we were doing the how to show houses stuff, the real estate 201 class. So we had an agent doing an open house, not this past weekend, the weekend prior. And it was just her and the client. She walked into the bedroom, they had a knife about yay big out, and they're cutting carpet. They claimed they wanted to see what was under the carpet. So I asked a question in this class, do you argue if somebody has a knife about yay big? And I hope the answer, all of you swear to no. Because
Wait.
Aaron Boone was there and he was kind of like, well, I was like, yeah, the answer is always no.
Wait a second, okay, so that she went,
Went into one of the bedrooms, just because again, she was somebody that was in coaching and, I always teach, like, let them walk around, let them be able to talk. So just, I hadn't seen them in a while, so she went back to one of the bedrooms. They were cutting the carpet.
the owners of the home.
The
People are open house.
buyers, like interested party.
Yeah, if it's a homeowner, yeah, you can go to town, but no, she was hosting an open house. Went into a bedroom and they're like carving the carpet. So my question I posed in this class was, do you argue with a potential client that's holding a knife?
Oh.
And that's when
Oh.
Aaron was just like, no.
What was
Answer is always no.
like, what's she doing?
So, well, she asked him that, but he just like, then they left, she put them up on 4 more and they had about 20 some charges on them.
Yeah.
And then what happened? Who fixed the carpet?
Yeah, after you said
Yeah,
that,
I didn't ask her that question, but it's just like,
You gotta
So-
find out.
don't be afraid to take people with you. Don't, even if it's non-licensed people, but when you talk about lenders, talk about other agents, I mean, it was great that both of us were there yesterday, because it was busy, as all get out. For about an hour, 15 minutes, I mean, it's just nonstop. And unfortunately, most people have agents, it seemed like, but, still good talking to people. And you just never know when somebody's gonna be unhappy with their agent or whatnot. You got a couple people to follow up with now from there. So
You asked that.
Last
They're working with an
we'll get
agent.
into that. Good. So make sure you feel safe. And I always teach this, whether you're showing houses to buyers, open houses, whatever, don't be the first one to walk in the door. And what by that, I mean like the bedroom. You always want to stay closest to the door. Never park in the driveway, always park on the street when possible. Because you don't want your car to be blocked and something starts going sideways, you want to be able to get out of the house and get going. So if that's gonna be the case, don't be afraid to take a spouse with you, a friend, another agent, a vendor, so you're not there by yourself. And it's probably not a bad idea not to be there by yourself, because you don't know what, you have 35 people on. Or 35 groups. You just never know when open houses will be busy and when they won't be busy. So it's probably not a bad idea just to have people there, not just for the safety part.
So is that just like a great place to start as open houses?
It's a great, because again, I call them warm leads, they're not even cold leads, but it's like people you've never met. But at least something about that house like has them interested. Maybe they're just kicking the tires, maybe they're like the people yesterday end up writing an offer at that open house. You know, they're knee deep in the home search process. And obviously they're ready to, I don't even think it was 2 hours later, I got a text from Scott saying, hey, they wrote it off. So they must have been like walking out the door, like calling their agent, like, hey, write this up. It sucks because we're the ones that kind of sold the house. It happens. I got you, Josh, you're good. So, but again, we showed value and again, it's not like this dude did a great job. They were talking through all the chaos of all their deals falling apart. Sounds like he did a really nice job, so there's, you could tell, like, they're dedicated to,
Telling you everything
Everything.
about how all the houses that,
oh, they're open book, but again, that's because we got them talking. You know, she was talking about when she was pregnant, how she wanted fried pickles. And
Yeah.
oh my God.
What was it?
Popcorn and,
Oh, the pellet ice.
Coca-Cola with pellet ice.
Yeah, because you, yeah, you just never know what people will talk about. The husband opens it's the bottom freezer, opens it, he's like looking at the ice for an oddly long amount of time, and I'm like, all right, so he closes, he's like, I thought we had pellet ice down here, and she's like, you guys have pellet ice, we'd write it off right now. It's like, I'll go to Home Depot, I'll buy the home pellet ice maker thing, I'll write you up. So we're joking about that for like 20 minutes.
is that normal for people to be opening space?
Oh,
Yeah, really?
I had to
I
go
wanna
to
see
the
what
garage
it is.
too. Took my truck that's in the garage. Go in the garage.
These are, yeah, 100%. Every nook and cranny, I mean, we're at that house. and I
Man, I'm
think
just
about
the
what she
easiest
said.
buyer ever, but
I
yeah.
was like, maybe call it test company, call it cheap, but you know, she was looking in the closets like.
Yeah, and I
Like
ain't
a-
gonna lie, I mean, I seen them, but I wasn't sure that you guys seen them, so
I
if
didn't
you
see it,
have
so,
potential buyers come in here, I'd be like, oh no,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, God.
the house we're at, she's like, there's signs of cockroaches.
Uh,
So I was just like, I didn't see it, but I was looking at them, she was, but again, if I was the buyer, she's like. That's great value, so she noticed, so I was meeting with our listing agent today, I was like, no, call Hardwork, have them come out, do an evaluation. Get it taken care of, and then call it deep clean, 'cause I brought that up, I'm like, we're gonna ask for all the money, this one has to shine, I was like, what really stood out, as soon as you walk in the door, it just looked dirty.
Yeah, it's like the paint.
But yeah, so it's just like, you're gonna ask for all the money, it's gotta look like. So we went through some coaching notes. And this is kind of talking about open houses too, though, like, we're gonna be doing open houses. Sometimes you're gonna walk into those situations. There's some people that show up, like, have you guys ever seen the movie American Beauty? I mean, it's like a 25-year-old movie. No. Have you seen it? That scene where she walks in with her bucket, she's like cleaning for like an hour before the open house. Don't have to go to that extreme, but you should show up at least 15-20 minutes earlier than possible. Take a look, like, we walked in open houses, there's like a sink full of dishes.
Oh, my God.
You know, like, again, just some people just.
I've had my house sold from up under me before. And the way the landlord like
Oh,
explained
like,
it
wait,
to
what?
yeah, I was living in the house and then I get a, oh, well, we're selling.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
is it okay if I have some people come by tomorrow? Yeah, but I didn't think some people was actually families that was taking their shoes off, walking through my house, you know, I
Yeah.
have kids and whatnot, so I'm living in my house. It wasn't ready to be.
I know one's gonna be
shown.
cut.
That's it, yeah.
Yes.
Do you give them like a list, like, okay, before I come by, clean, this is what I recommend you do?
One of our listing appointment, we definitely go through it. So as a listing agent, even if you're not doing the open house, just, this is why I always encourage you guys to do open houses right away. Because again, if you do photos, go live and open house all within a pretty tight time frame. They can do a deep clean on the house really once, and it kind of sticks around for a few days.
Okay,
So if they do photos, usually you get photos back within 24 hours or so. Go live, open house a day or two later, then you can kind of take it beyond.
And do we take our own pictures?
Hire a photographer. You can, I wouldn't recommend it though.
Okay.
Maximize your value. It's $125 for most, like a standard listing photo package. Great question. So capturing leads with open houses. Sellers, buyers, neighbors, using it as a. So. Open houses is a prospecting tool. you're not gonna see anything better. So. And by that, I mean, literally everybody benefits. Your seller gets the most amount of exposure. Because you're not just putting it on the MLS, put a sign in the yard and hoping for the best. You're expanding your marketing. You're bringing in as many potential buyers as possible. That will net you as many possible offers as possible. The buyers, it gives everybody a fair chance to come see you. The neighbors. Let them come in, let them get a chance to meet you. You're, by doing the most marketing and allowing as many people in there to get the best offers as possible, you're driving up the value of all the neighbors' houses. And then you as the agent, pick up clients. We've talked about that enough today. I think we already understand that. So. This is why you gotta look at open houses as an event, not something you have to do and you're miserable doing. Like, make sure that you're wanting to be there, not have to be there. That's just not a great mentality to have.
And when you do the open house, you don't let the homeowners be there, right? Like you.
They should not be
They
there.
should not be, yeah, that's.
Showings, they should not be there, open houses, but that's not always the case.
I was going off the Brittany, on the Union Chapel Road, so, I got my time just about, I doubled up that day, so I was on Willow Street when I was supposed to be on Union Chapel Road. So I was like 20 minutes late, people showed up, so she called me like, hey, are you there? People wait, they called my phone spot, I was on my way. So I guess the sellers went over, started letting people in, and they were still there when I got there, it's to decide to work it all out.
Sure.
But anyways, while I was there, the lady was still in the kitchen, the owner, she was getting ready to leave, people walked in, and goes, oh, they got a cat. So they were kind of dogging the house while she was still in there. She didn't do
That's
that.
why they don't
So that's
see
why
the
they shouldn't be
house.
there, right?
Yeah, I'm sure about to ask them, why don't we want the owners there?
Well, that's why, and that's why, again, for sale by owners, a lot of times they don't wanna do open houses, they just kind of pay to put it on Zillow or whatnot. And they never do it, because they don't wanna hear that kind of stuff, well, then they really limit their marketing, so again, that's a value proposition if you start calling for sale by owners. Or, you know, if you can't get them to offer to do open houses, in a prospect. Again, like we talked about, it's inexpensive. High ROI because it is so inexpensive to do it, your return on investment, again, even if I had you do 50 open houses and get one closing, your investment of time and money is so minimal, your return is gonna be so high. And again, it's more qualified leads as opposed to me just handing a phone book to you guys.
Right.
And just hoping for the best on your calls. That's a very hard conversion. These people are at least interested in one way, shape, or form.
Okay, and so in those situations where you said that we can call for sale by owners, if they like agree to work with us, could we, I know that they're selling it, but is it a exclusive agency? Or
If we did
since
the
it's
open
not
house
right to
one?
sell?
Well, exclusive right to sell be like, we're actually listing it. If you're just doing the open house and staying up for sale by owner, there's a thing called a service fee agreement. you can sign.
Okay.
Like, hey, during this window of time, if I bring you a buyer from my activities, you'll pay me.
Do you ever do, have you done that before?
I haven't, I know some people do, because we usually have enough listings on the team I'm on. We have enough open house opportunities, but there's nothing saying you can't do that.
I'm gonna try to find that design.
It's possible for it. It may not be called service fee agreement, maybe some, maybe search builder, because it's for builders for sale by owners.
So on, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they used to call them service fee agreements, yeah. Because it's all one document that you use for builders for sale by owners. The best practices. Setting goals. We talk about this a lot. Be purposeful. So what's my goal for this open house? How many people do I want to meet, whether it's through the ads or how many people through the open house?
Think, setting goals, so you're not going off the fly. You're not just randomly.
Well, it gives you something to shoot for. And then it gives you a chance, all right, so my goal is to meet 20 people, again, whether it's online leads that clicked on the ads, came through the open house, I fall short. My last one I did, I had 35 registered. What did I do different? Gives you a chance to evaluate, like, all right, so maybe if I'm in this general area, maybe I gotta do more marketing. Maybe I need to run marketing longer. over here, or hey, this one was on the market a lot longer. So maybe this is just a likelihood of having too many people here are gonna be less, because it's pretty much anybody that's in the market for it's trying to see it. But we talked about this for the open house we did yesterday. It's like, okay, well, kind of figured we still have been like 3 weeks on the market at that point, second or third open house. And then 12, 15, whatever groups through.
First 20 minutes too.
Yeah. So pick the house. Think about your market numbers. Again, the newer the house on the market, the better the opportunity.
Mhm.
Goes without saying, but don't turn down any open house opportunities, because about every 30 to 60 days, a new set of buyers comes on the market. So even though the house may be older, there's still gonna be people coming through. So consider inviting a speaker such as an inspector or a lender. So I don't know why they're calling it a speaker. I mean, they're not doing like a formal presentation. But having somebody there, especially a lender, because they could have their laptop open and, you know, like yesterday, those people were obviously ready to buy a house. They were in offer within a couple hours of leaving. Let's say it was somebody that's never worked with an agent and never bought a house. This would be their first house. They could get pre-approved on the spot. So that could be.
And why do you say if this is their first house, they can be pre-approved?
I'm just picking the situation. It could be anybody, you know, maybe somebody's just never bought in the last 20 years. They've been in the same spot and they need to change. So it could be.
Maybe they don't have a lender, or they don't know
Right.
anybody already.
Because again, they're in the same business as us, buying leads and closing. So they're not competing real estate agents, but they're in they're going towards the same direction, same goal that we just do.
Why would you have an inspector there? Like, I
But
guess,
maybe it's an older house, so like Wilton Street's a perfect one. The house is probably about 100 years old, about 90 years old. So somebody may not understand houses that old. So you get an inspector, then they're, man, like this basement wall is kind of funky.
that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
that is.
So like the house you had, you know, things we're not listening, but at least you're getting something.
At least if they have questions, they can run right over to yours. No,
We had to do yesterday, came up from the basement, it's like. Basically,
It's a new house.
yeah, so a 2-year-old house, it was, or not even,
Yeah, it's a
it's
new
like
house.
a year and a half, built 2022. Like, who finished this basement, they probably need to redo it. So it was horrible, and I took him down, like, after that guy said that, I was like, throwing down, we were kind of looking around, we found some spots, I was like, damn, this dude had nothing nice to say about anything. Gosh. But we had valid points after we were down, so.
I was just about to say, kind of gotta be picky in the decision.
Oh, 100%. So, then pick the time and thing. I've said this a lot of times. I long ago gave up on trying to figure out the best days and times and all this. So I've seen Wednesday ones be killer, Saturday afternoon ones be dead. Just pick ones that work for you and your clients and then just market for every living, you know what.
I did my first one during the week last week, and that was when I had 30 groups come through.
Especially again, in the summers, you can make the case that maybe weekend or weekday ones in the evening or night, because on the weekends, people are.
Yep. I think I'll start doing these maybe one during the week, because people do work weekends, stuff like that.
So if you just find one that works for you and your clients, just. Now we're gonna do one on Super Bowl Sunday. Maybe do one on Saturday.
I saw somebody posted about that in a group and they're like, yeah, do it in the afternoon and people can still get back in time to eat and drink and watch the game.
People do, but again, it's just like, you gotta find, but what if your people entertain that day? Like they got a party that, obviously that will work for, that's where it's just find what works for you, what works for the client. And just do your job from there. And know your market. So this, we're gonna spend a lot of the rest of the session on. Why do you guys think that is? We need to be the market expert, right? So what does that look like for you guys? What do you think would be knowing your market?
I think for one, knowing everything there is about the house, it goes without saying, the things that everybody wants to know, roof, heating, proper, like you wanna know all of those things. You also wanna know what's sold in the area.
Neighborhood facts, you know, the covenants, restrictions, have that type of stuff available. What else is for sale, really close and similar that you would suggest for people that come to the open house. You got something to talk about. Hey, this is the tonight.
Yeah.
Covenants, Indiana.
Sometimes. Allen County has a searchable covenant. I don't know why every county does not have this. Allen County has a searchable covenant database. So you type in any subdivision and find the most recent covenants for that subdivision. Is uber handy.
You know, that's.
It's
So where would you find it in?
other
like,
counties,
yeah,
so pull up that,
States.
previous listings are called title companies in the county.
title.
Because a lot of times they're looking those things up too.
Do they give
It's
you that
good to
information
have
for
it.
free with the tax or no?
Yeah.
Title companies would give you that.
If they have,
You wouldn't know this document.
in Allen County, no, because not everybody,
What about
so
the recorder's office? I bet they have it there, just. the-
you could, yeah, so. But if you're looking for them, any of those resources are good. I'd start with the MLS, because if you can find them. I'm gonna talk my dreams off really quick, but you gotta pay attention to the section number of the subdivision, because different parts of the subdivision may have different covenants. So, like if you're overlooking a pond, you will never be able to put a privacy. fence on. You're in a different part of the subdivision that doesn't look at the pond, they don't care about privacy. But the idea is those are premium lots, and they don't want you blocking the view of your neighbors, so. the Golf course, the same thing, you might be able to do like a wrought iron, like 4-foot fence, but you'll never be able to do it. Things like that, so that's why the section number is so important, because it could be that different from section to section.
I have a question
And-
when you're done tapping that off.
Okay, yep, and I'm glad you brought up covenants, I hope it's still a lot of stories. It's interesting, so I like staring at it for like 5 minutes, like, I can't believe this is actually there.
So what do you do?
I work at Dana.
Okay, third
Yes,
shift.
yes.
Oh, girl.
Yes, today I'm like, I actually ended up getting off early last night. And I woke up like at like 9:55, so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do a Zoom. But I get in that and I have ADHD afterwards, so I'm not about to be able to focus on what Brian said. And I see this towel right here that could be folded, I can do this, and I can do that. I'm like, nope, I'm about to go before I'm not
Yeah.
retain none of this information. Yeah, hopefully I can get started real
Yeah.
soon and get away from that place, cause that's my ultimate goal. So,
So you like, did you want to work third or is that just what they put? you
no,
on?
it's just, best to have kids, and so it's best for the.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So here's my question.
Sure.
Okay, so I've been dealing with a ton of issues around the lakes. I feel like those are like the trouble child. They really are. They're terrible, terrible. Anyway,
Love to
so,
hear more about them.
oh my gosh.
What kind of issue?
Oh, so one thing that I would tell everybody, if you have a lakefront property,
Yeah.
make sure they own it all the way up to the water.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is
Correct.
huge.
Um,
Well, that's one of the biggest things, and I mean, like, people are about throw blows and getting arrested type stuff. So we have this one, I guess, section, and it started off with an HOA, and when it first got built, they were real active, and then it just went dead, but it's still there, and there's all these covenants. But it's sort of like sitting there idle because people don't know what they can do, but there's no one there to enforce it. But like the attorneys are saying, there's technically legally still an HOA there, but nobody runs it.
That's what
Like,
most
file
HOAs
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you do? Because that really affects like that person's life who's living there, who wants to do something.
So I don't know the answer to that, I'm gonna be honest with you, that happens about 90% of the time. Like most HOAs start off strong and then they just goes on, because nobody wants to volunteer for the
Right.
board
How
and
do you dissolve one? I'm sure it's gotta be the.
talk to a real estate attorney. Yeah, I would put them in touch with a real estate attorney and just be like, how do you get rid of it?
Yeah, HOA.
Like you might have to go door to door and get 70% of signatures or something, yeah, petition to get rid of it. And, but then you open yourself up to all sorts of craziness. So let me see if this is up there. So again, this is how out of date, I'm glad you're bringing this up, all this perfect segue, because this shows how out to date. Some of these can be.
I've gotten HOAs before that are, you cannot read them, they're so old, and that's the only copy. You go to the recorder's office, that's the copy, it's just like, oh, it's from 1972.
People don't
And-
realize you have an HOA, everybody's gotta pay for it.
Well, they showed us
Like
HOA.
one that's $25 a year.
Yeah.
Pay for it.
Yeah, they- yeah.
Like, what?
And I'm sure nothing gets enforced.
Free
Oh,
money
they
for
sure
the
try.
person.
They surely
Yeah.
try.
And what do you guys hear, like, what's the biggest thing when you guys joined that we talked about? It's fair housing, right?
Yeah, they were taught like the, how you said, so back 3 years ago when I was buying my house, people would write a letter like, I got 2 kids, one's got autism and we really need this house,
Mhm.
and show like a cute family
Mhm.
picture, and everybody in the group was like.
Illegal.
Yeah, illegal, everybody's like, I don't even fit anywhere.
Yeah.
What's illegal?
You're not supposed to do that because it shows that they're, maybe their social, standing, obviously.
They could be discriminated against.
Discriminated against.
Less information that you have about.
Even though they're freely offering it,
Mhm.
you're still.
Yeah. Do you, Brian, address that? Like if you are the listing agent, you have a buyer's agent, they submit to you a love letter?
You just throw them away, don't you?
I don't think them.
You don't say anything to the buyer's agent about it? Okay,
Correct.
right.
So I'm trying to join on Zoom so I can share this with everybody, but.
Because there was a while that you could do that, because it's went back and forth, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I've
There's
had.
still people that do it, but you gotta be very careful.
Mhm.
Uh,
I had to say that before, like, oh, this is what I did to get my house. So my client right now that's under contract, she was saying that someone, I think her boss did a love letter to get their house. So she was like, you know, if there's any chance if I could do that, and I was like, separate there. That's fair. And so then we just talked about it, and then it's like, oh, you know what, I didn't even think that makes sense.
I was sort of laughing, it's not an agent with us anymore. He was always one, he joined via Zoom, but I'll just pass it around, but he was one of the ones that were always don't do a fair housing. I had to list multiple offers. What did he submit? This buyer's thing. I was like, man, you're like saying like, don't do these things.
Uh-huh,
And then here we are.
uh-huh. We're all saying everything.
Bingo. So I'll say, this is from a HOA and the 46807. This is a real estate buddy of mine. This was updated in 1998.
Oh, wow, okay.
And this section's still in the racial restrictions.
Mhm.
They're not even hiding it.
Right.
1998.
So that's not illegal.
They're
Oh, they have a
updated.
terrible
Oh, it's
attorney.
illegal.
That
Yeah,
was
sure.
We should-
No one.
Holy damn. So this had to be what, written in the 50s, maybe?
Probably before it, because it's 07, so it's probably built in the 1910s, 1920s.
So what do you do?
I mean, maybe if you're the person affected. by it.
One, good for him for looking through
Yeah,
his first client.
absolutely.
But then when he posted this last night, I just like, did one of these on my phone for a while. And then when he posted,
Uh-huh.
yeah, 19, amended as recently as 1998. Oh, 1947.
It was amended in 19.
It was amended in 1998.
Right. So the fact that somebody looked at it,
Makes, that tells you about attorneys.
right. So why I bring all this up? I'm sorry, I couldn't figure out how to share this online, so sorry, guys. But the idea is people are gonna ask questions that get in all sorts of stuff we don't touch with the 10-foot pole.
Like what's it?
So a good example would be, who lives here? Like, what's like the makeup of,
Mhm.
now they might be asking for kids and things like that,
Mhm.
but you gotta be very careful how you answer it. So if you remember from real estate school, you can't be like, you're showing houses to a Burmese. You said you get a kid. You can't be like, hey, he's got, this is great house. Again, it's different perceptions. What's a high crime rate? What's a low crime rate? You point them to the resources, you don't answer. So greatschools.org is a great resource to teach people about the schools. Call the local police department to ask about crime rates. But people will try to get you to answer these kind of questions. You yourself.
So in that instance, that CNR, what if, you have a listing over there in that association? Do you kind of, if your buyer is anybody besides the white race?
No, I mean, I honestly don't know.
Is that an active HOA that you just showed that?
I'm assuming, but I brought that up because you're bringing up, I hope you got it. I mean, at least as of 1998, it was, because somebody had to submit for it to be amended. Since then, I don't know.
So I think you contact like the president of the HOA and bring it, and they should have so many meetings a year and then,
Right, but again, if it's not active, but this is the problem, like when they do dissolve, I mean, technically,
or just stop doing anything.
technically, they could say, well, cancel the, I mean, that's by their covenants. Now, you're gonna get into 48 lawsuits from that point forward, rightfully so. But technically, why I brought this up, you're bringing up like what, like, this is from 1947, amended in 98. It's still technically, you know, the still rule of the neighborhood. What do you do now? I honestly don't know. So, and if it's an inactive HOA, how do you get that whole covenant just shut down?
And then even with like sex offender registries, we're not even supposed to say anything about that, right?
You know, just Google your county
I feel like that's
and
just service, like I would like,
Provide the
Yeah, the
information.
buyer
like
beware
I would,
statement.
if I had, if I bought a house, granted, you should look those things up for you, buy a house.
but
And
you're
I
not
found out
ignoring
sex
it, you're
offender-
letting them research
Yeah.
it, because what if you're like, oh, this one's only 2 miles away. I'm only gonna give you the ones in a mile. Something happens with that person 2 miles away, you knew that person was there. You're just opening a can of worms you do not want. You point them, let them decide what's important. So you're not ignoring it, you're addressing it. But you're pointing it, then you can make a decision. So if I was your agent, I just looked here, but something happened to one of your kids got there, and it does. But it's just outside that ring, and you're like, you never told me.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
See, again, you're just opening this, it's Pandora's box, you're just jumping full in cannonball that you just do not want.
Your idea of a
Provide
nice
them the
neighborhood might be
resources.
very different than your buyer's idea of a nice neighborhood.
And I used to tell my people like, hey, go drive around the neighborhood, because maybe there's something about the neighborhood you don't like, and they're not about people, but like,
Time of day, it's by school.
but maybe they want like a lot of kids in the neighborhood, and again, what I consider that person, because they got kids and they want their kids to be able to go outside and play. And it's a bunch of people in the fifties, well, they're really no kids, like, but you know, but then it became, everything was moving so fast, so I'm getting back to encouraging my people to like, hey, go drive around, like on the weekends, or go drive around in the evening, just. Cause again, you're buying the community and not just buying. a house. Let them make the decision. And getting to where this ties into the open house, like this is stuff, even though it's not your listing, you should be aware. All these things. I brought a copy of the covenants for yesterday, because I knew there would probably be questions about that. We're getting a lot of questions, hey, is this land right behind here protected wetland? I was like, I'm not sure, it's definitely wetland, I don't know if it's protected. No, but that, because they're trying to figure out, hey, will subdivision be built? It's got a great view, just a bunch of woods and things like that. Well, tomorrow or in 6 years, that might all be gone, it might just be a bunch of houses.
Kind of off the subject, but you brought it up. Do sex offenders have the same process as everybody else as far as buying? Like they,
You know, because they can't be within certain miles of schools, and,
They made
I
it.
mean, they get,
okay,
Yeah, like in our community, I won't like, let's just say there's parks strategically placed everywhere to sort of keep them all out. But if they live there, they're like grandfathered in, is that right?
meaning like. the
Right,
house
because they're there
area
before the rule.
Okay,
not the house, but they were in that location before, so they can't be forced to move. But,
but if they move out, another one can't move. So, okay.
so, but. I mean,
Do you do
I
like a
have-
background check on like potential clients
I don't, because most of mine come from clients, like, so,
that you trust? So,
but that's why you got access to forewarn. So any client, you
No.
to what?
can
Get a better
call one of
MLS,
us and we'll
yeah.
run it for you. Forewarn, part of your MLS dues. Wait, are you on K-board or, wait,
Were you
what are you part of?
journalist?
Upstart?
Did you join
Upstart.
Upstart? Okay, part of Upstart, right there on the homepage, you can sign up for forewarn. It's
Or-
part of your MLS dues, and you'll have the same access when you join.
Oh,
It's a $300 a year subscription that it's covered in your dues automatically, so you get free access. You gotta create an
and then what does that tell you? Like,
background check, criminal records and all that stuff. So if somebody calls you, you gotta sign in the yard. Somebody calls you, you can do a background check before you go meet them. That's that whole open house story I shared with the night in the carpet. That's how she checked their stuff, found out they had like 20-some drug charges, dealing, assault.
Yeah, I
all that
was
kind of
wondering,
stuff.
like, was
So
they
that's how-
looking for something?
that's how-
Forget what was up under, like, did you guys live here?
That's very
before?
specific,
And- The carpet cutters.
Yeah.
What I would think if I walked in.
Yeah.
Sellers.
I'll probably be like, what you thought was under there, like, you thought it was okay to cut these people's carpet?
But that's why that's such an important piece of software. So you get a sign call, you know, Heather Bolton on her team, she makes, like, if they get a sign call, you gotta text them a picture of your ID. You know, then they run your background, so they won't show you a house, meet you there, or now, you won't send an ID, they're like, that's a little too shady for us.
Oh, I spelled it wrong. No, I didn't.
So, you know. Yeah, I mean,
Interesting. I didn't know we had that. I didn't know that.
so being safe, again, use the buddy system, arrive early. If it's a vacant house, walk around the outside, make sure windows are not listed out, no windows are propped open or anything like that, because what if you have squatters? Even look in sheds. Park on the street, check all entrances and exits. So yesterday we went to leave, he came up in the basement, he's like, I can't, door won't lock. So we had the locked road, so we had to go find a bunch of stuff in the house, hopefully they go over there today. We've got like a TV mount box and a paint can, and just like wedged it
They lock,
behind the door.
and back door is unlocked when you got there too, so you gotta make sure you're locking the door.
Make sure your cell phone's fully charged, turn on the lights. And probably doesn't apply as much now, but check your local COVID guidelines and follow. We don't really have any guidelines specific to open houses. So open up, you're starting to deal with more of the general public. This isn't working in your sphere, so you're gonna get a whole mixed bag of people. I mean, we just kind of talked about a lot of different situations. But it's all about providing the best service for our clients. Be the market expert, get to know them. It's gotta be, all your questions gotta be here about learning about them. Because the more you get to know them, the more they feel connected with you, because the more they're willing to share. That means they're starting to open up to you. That means they trust you and you got a great chance of converting them into being a client. So prepare, prospect, and pursue. We've talked about a majority of this, but if there's anything you want to dive in more to, just stop me. The difference between big and really big is how you manage your time and focus. So anybody can fall into a few deals a year. But if you want to be doing 40, 50, 60 deals a year, it's going to take a lot of focus. And in the beginning, it'll take time, but then when you get to a point where your business starts generating referrals on its own, then you gotta kind of slow down. Rebuild your systems and retool your systems, and that's great. Or start hiring admins. So preparing. Most of the work for the open house is done the day before, and you could say even the week before. So prepare your mindset. Again, if your mindset's like, Brian said I'm supposed to work open houses, so I'll just go sit there for a couple hours and hope for the best. That's the wrong mindset. It's like, I might find one person this week at an open house that's gonna be. Think about it, 52 weeks a year, we take 4 weeks of vacation, so there's 48 weeks. Find one unique person every single week, that's 48 potential clients. So let's say we close 25% of this, that's 12. One closing. So if we do a really good job qualifying that one person, it should be closer to 50%, which is 24 closings. The MLS average is not even 3 deals a year. So you're gonna be way above and beyond an average agent in the MLS. With just that simple mindset right there. So let's find one person this week that's gonna be a well-qualified buyer person. Yeah, look at sellers, that's 2 people, right? Because they're gonna buy and they're gonna sell, so there's 2 of your deals, just right there.
Just talking about open houses, have you ever, I'm just trying to think of like real practical things. Have you ever worked with a seller that like has a lot of issues with their house, but they're like, I have no money until I sell this? Like, do you front them the money and then you put it on to, like, how would you
We were
deal?
actually dealing with this, so I don't know if you guys have met Natasha Wood yet, she's a new agent here. You've met her, so she's got a friend of hers that wants to sell an old rental property, the furnace doesn't work. So what we do is we come up with A, B, and C, or how many of our options, it's like, all right, option A, we fix nothing. We fix nothing, we can probably price it here, do this kind of marketing, and you'll probably walk away with this. Option B, we find a company that will come in, give you a monthly payment that you can afford. fix the furnace, makes it more marketable, we can charge more. Here's the marketing we do, here's what you spend it, option C or D, how many other options you can come up with. Give the pros and cons, let them,
I never option of your home investment.
I would never put money up. If you're gonna put money up, then you gotta work in, and we had an agent just do this. And I had to put in the listing contract that this person does not sell. You know, they're gonna reimburse either which way. We already have it in writing once the house sells. It's like, if she decides not to sell, make sure you're covered as well. So she has a written agreement, she paid to get the floor installed. The lady had the floor. Just nobody installs, and no money to install. So our agent paid to have it installed. That was almost $2,000 of her own money,
Right.
that she paid for it.
So I just think like if we can get the house sellable, then it's also good for us because we're gonna make commission off of it, so.
We just get into like, yeah, I mean, if you have to, but try to find other options. But again, it's your money, you do you kind of thing, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you do it, get a written agreement that they'll pay you back within a certain time.
And then does that, can you write that into the kind, like, can that be on the closing, like the closing costs, like how it's like. If you'll get credited like, or
You can do
debit-
however you want, or they can just cut you a check or. however they want.
Cause I would almost prefer like to just have it taken right out and not have to like lug them chasing down for another.
Sure, yeah, you can do it however you want, just whatever written agreement you have, just specify all those terms. So there's no questions, be crystal clear, like somebody walks down the sidewalk, you hand it to them, they should be able to discern. Exactly what's gonna happen without any knowledge of the process. Or any knowledge of the previous conversation, and your purchase agreement should be written that crystal clear too. Should be able to walk over that guy right there and just hand him the whole stack and flip through it, he should know exactly who's getting what, what's being paid, how well, you know, all this stuff. All of our agreements should be that crystal clear. Now, prepare your conversations and practice your conversations. So, you know, you and I had some good coaching sessions yesterday. So it's again, just like with your situation, just little tweaks. It's like, we're doing this really well, but we can get a little bit better. Let's just tweak these things. Make a lot of conversations about them. Hey, what brought them out? What caught their eye about the house, or questions like that? Because you're gonna be amazed the information you get just from that simple question when they first get there. So again, I like to meet people at the front door. You know, hey, Teresa, Brian Keller Williams, thanks. I already know your name. Hey, Brian Keller Williams, thanks so much for coming out. Just let that sit there. Generally, you don't, Teresa, you know, you feel like kind of a wall.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna invite you to the kitchen, because that's where I have all the materials. So they follow me to the kitchen, I got all the paperwork on the house, and then you can feel free to walk through the house on your own. Now I'm telling you, like, hey, just follow me for those 2 seconds, the kitchen, I'll get you what you need, and then you're on your own, because I don't want you to feel like I'm gonna follow you around everywhere. But
Right.
on that short little walk to the kitchen, just say, hey, what caught your eye about the house? Or, hey, what brought you out today? Or, hey, do you live out this way already? You know, something, one of those questions. Yeah, you know, just kind of running short on space. You'd be amazed the kind of answers you get, because they'll not give you yes, no answers, because I'm not asking yes, no questions, right? So get to the kitchen, I ask you to sign in, I get the materials together. I'm always gonna point out a couple things. And if we do need to know all the things about the house, and we talked about this in depth yesterday, it's great we know all this about the house. But let's pick out the 2 main highlights. In that question you asked from the front door to the kitchen is really important, because you say you need more space. Okay, now I know the 2 things I'm gonna point out is all gonna be about the space in the house. You say something about, hey, the basement's awesome, I'm gonna find a couple things about the basement. So we need to know all the nuts and bolts of the house kind of thing. When I ask that question, I'm trying to get something out of it, so I can point you in the right direction. Those are the questions, like very easygoing conversations. And they get you really far, because the people feel like, that's not a pushy salesperson. You know what I mean? Then let them go out on their own. Now when they come back, be prepared for the conversation of, hey, what did you think of the house? From that simple question, you're gonna understand. Is there any interest? So they're like, yeah, it's pretty good. This person was clear as day, one who wrote the offer yesterday, like, we love it, it's perfect, it's got everything, great, let's dive into what it offers. Obviously, they had an agent, so we didn't go that route, but if they didn't, we definitely would. Now, the people are like, it's not bad, but. Need an extra bedroom, need this, or it doesn't have that. We get to the home that we're about to talk about. We need to know what's going on in that area. So. In the preparation, select the open house on Monday. Start advertising on, I would say even start Monday, but start on Tuesday. Don't be afraid to go walk the neighborhood, invite the neighbors. Hey, if you know somebody who can move the area, here's some flyers, feel free to share. Wednesday, post online again, install the yard sign. To me, I'll do that when I'm in the neighborhood walking. Sooner the better. Thursday, keep posting about it. Maybe this time you do a video walkthrough, just like a little teaser video. And then Friday, post online again, prepare market statistics, flyers going on. This is where I would start doing the homework, because this is as close to your open house as you get. What's been active, what's been pending, what's sold in the last year? Because a house name came up on Thursday. If we did this on Monday, we might not know about that house on Thursday. That got posted. So the day before, you want to do that kind of stuff. So you understand the area, because when you get to that end of the conversation from the open house and they need an extra bedroom, hopefully you know of a house in the area that has that extra bedroom or has that X factor that they're looking for, and you can offer to show that to them. Now you're problem solving. You're not trying to force this house on them. You're just using this as a mechanism. Community and neighborhood information, again, having the covenants printed out if you can, just one copy, you don't need to print out a ton. Or at least have them like up on your laptop where you can scroll through, because then you can search, right? If it's up on your laptop, you got downloaded as a PDF. What does it say about fences? You don't have to scroll through page after page, you can just say Command F and search for fence and then find all the spots that say fence stuff. Relocation. So this would be, how are they getting? What's the seller? Because our house yesterday was vacant, it's like, if you want to move in tomorrow, it's right. Well, look at Josh's situation, well, for him to buy that house, this house has to go, the house that person's buying or selling to buy this house, that allows him to buy that house, that has to go smooth. So to relocate, we gotta really know all the dominoes, because that may skew the deal with potential buyer. Because maybe they need, like now, they can't wait 60 days while all these dominoes fall into place. First time buyer specifics, this would be a great way for you to partner with the lender. Maybe you have first time home buyer program, or things like that. That's, could be something you guys co-brand with your lenders or invite the lender out. Because a lot of the lenders will have marketing departments, so I'll help you guys design those things up. And then mortgage information. That agent one app that we always talk about on your website through KW, there's mortgage calculators. If they're not pre-approved, like run through some scenarios if they're interested. What would a 10% down loan look like in my monthly payment? What would FHA look like? What would USDA look like? So be prepared to answer all those kind of questions, and that app on your phone can be really good, so you can text it to them right there. Now you got their phone number.
If you have a listing and you're there at the open house and someone doesn't have an agent, they come to you and they're like, Brian, I love it, I wanna get it, write up an offer. Do you have to send the form, oh my gosh, what is it called when you represent both sides?
It's in the purchase agreement.
So does the seller have to sign anything saying it's okay for you to do that?
The purchase agreement is still signed.
Okay, so you just
You
write it
need to
up.
disclose it, yeah. So on page 6 or 7, I forget, but
Okay, so
they'll
there's
say, is it a limited agency? Yes or
limited
no?
agency, that's what it is.
So then this, you do need to disclose up front, like, hey, this is somebody came through the open house. They have me write the offer. The seller has every right to say.
It's also on.
They're fine with the offer. They're not okay with you working on the buyer's behalf.
That's probably, is that very common? I wouldn't think that they would.
Handful of times it's happened. Most of the time they're like, I trust you to be fair. But we have had some people are like, it just feels weird having you look out for their best interest, but my best interest all at the same time. Fair.
Your agency duties.
Correct, because it's like you're kind of playing, like, am I getting all of your attention, you know? But you gotta play Switzerland, right? Like, I'm selling your house, she's my buyer. I gotta keep the conversation that you and I have completely separate from this. So I could see where people would not be okay with it. So prospect. How we're talking to people, build trust and rapport. Get to know. Ask these like very easy open-ended questions that we've been talking about. Get to know them, like, we had a debate about pellet ice with the client yesterday and talking about Chick-fil-A and she. I didn't get into it, because I figured it was on the politics route, but she won't need it. She made it very clear, Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A are just a no-go, so. Chicken sandwiches. Provide value. So again, these people, they're talking about all these different things. We got a chance to dive in on it. It's like, hey, something being built here. No. Well, hey, we got a guy with Parkinson's, so we were helping them like design the bathroom in the basement or think about all these things, how they could do this to make a full bath. Make it work for them. How many agents will sit there and do that? I mean, we got nothing to do. But we built a good rapport with them. Who knows where that goes down? Capture information, qualify leads. This is where most people are good at 1 and 2, horrible at 3. We're like, they're not asking for their information. Well, it's all for nothing if they're not getting their information. Don't put it in their court to reach out.
When I started telling people to sign in, I started getting much more people to sign. Made more sense in my open house, so I can walk away with, I got 10 contacts from the house. It made me feel like I was doing something.
How did you tell them to do it, like without sounding
So
like,
sometimes I'll say the sellers requested everyone sign in, and I already
Okay.
have it popped up, or like Brian said, while I'm getting information for you, please sign it if you wouldn't mind. So something like that.
And that's why I never put together
Versus
books. I just have
must
stacks
sign
of
in.
stuff that I go through one by one and slowly put it together. So I don't have pre-made booklets.
Like, I don't like signing in when I build places at all, but if someone tells me, hey, make sure you sign in, please, I sign.
And I'll usually put a fake name or two at the top, because people will follow the trend.
Yeah.
Because if you're the first one.
For sure, every time. Then they're never first one either.
Follow a trend. If you're the first one that came in, you just put Desmond and no last name, no.
that's what everybody will do.
Yep.
So I'll make the handwriting look a little different.
Do the same thing.
Different color pen.
Uh-huh.
I did have some trouble yesterday with the online signing machine. Someone didn't put the job, the last guy didn't put the box, and he was like, hit submit, man, it ain't working. I'm like, oh, it ain't working, it's all right, man. I clicked the box for him and left and submitted it, but I'm starting to have a little trouble with the online stuff.
Make sure you stay in touch, the question mark top right of command. Any issue you guys have, click that little question mark and submit
Not the
anything.
command issue, which is they're not checking that box.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I thought you meant after. Okay, I got you.
You were checking it for them before. Yeah, that's smart. I like that.
Only one person's had an issue with that, so.
'Cause no one reads it, right? Like, just like we don't read that stuff. We just
Again,
accept.
but let me ask you this, so you're out somewhere, somebody hands you a business card, says call. How often have you ever?
Never.
Never.
called
Well, that's
you?
not true. Now I do.
They just
Well,
look
not
like,
before you're in, well, yep, exactly, it's. So give them a card, don't be afraid to do that, and have them sign it.
Mhm.
So again, if they're super interested, you want them to know how to get a hold of you, but the burden always is. with you. So how many times, flip it around, you put your information down, they called you, it's converted into something. Even if it's 1 versus none, it's still 1 more than the previous version you made. So just think about that, it's very important that we look at this. Greet everyone that comes in the door, not always possible, because again, yesterday I was so busy, there's people who came in, we never talked to. So there's just too many, it was just in and out, you didn't know who was with whom. That kind of thing. Engage in conversation, again, I'm gonna say this over and over in every single training, you don't be the person that just says hi, and then leave them be. Engage with them, there's so many agents, go into open houses, don't even tell them you're an agent, to see what the experiences are. And then be positive. So yesterday we had the guy just bashing the basement. He's like, well, obviously this is not a house for you. Like, but it's like, this is, writing off where you think it's fair to account for that. You could tell he didn't like the house anyway, so we didn't go down that route. But even if people are being negative, you gotta stand in positive. Know your team stats, know the market stats, understand personality types. That's the biggest one on this slide. Somebody's an engineering type, they're gonna be uber in, but be ready for numbers. somebody's super outgoing, be ready to sit there and talk about, you mix up and Slayer Storm out when she was pregnant. However long ago. And her cravings for popcorn and pellet ice. So like,
Random conversation.
ignoring the guys that have obviously never been pregnant.
Yeah.
So, alright. That's it. Have something to offer the visitors, and that doesn't mean like a giveaway, I mean, it can be, but it's something of value that they're gonna walk away with, like, as an understanding of the neighborhood, hey, there's trail maps, here's this, here's that. Have them be able to walk away with something like, oh, else, I'm glad we went there. Maybe it's, hey, now they found an agent. Could be that simple. Hey, we narrowed it down, found a community that we want it to be ours. Capturing information, again, website, have a sign-in sheet, I would recommend having both. Have an understanding of your consumer app, because that could be something that you send to your people, like if it's a really interested buyer, you could send them your consumer app right on the spot and have them sign in. Qualifying leads, the only way you're gonna qualify them is asking good questions. Remember, who, what, when, where, and why kind of questions. Who are these people? What's got them motivated to think about moving? Why are they moving? How are they gonna finance? Where are they currently living? Where do they wanna go? Those kinds of questions. Get them talking about themselves. Remember, you're there to get leads and appointments. And that rests fully on your shoulders. Pursue. Where we're wrapping up today's session. Call them after the yes. Whether it's the day after that evening, reach out to them within a timely fashion. Follow up, put them in your database, add notes. Reevaluate the goals you set. So if your goal is to meet 20 people, how did we do? Be honest with yourself. Don't create fluff to get you to your 20. We got 18, we got 18. Let's evaluate. Let's get better for next time. Maybe it's nothing we did. Maybe it's the first super warm day of the year. And there's no way we do that. We'll be on that Saturday and we'll just, next one, we'll get them next time. Maybe it's like, hey, we didn't do the door knocking this time and we fell short. Or maybe that was the difference maker. So value that. Be honest with yourself. But then today, it's your money that we're talking. So as we wrap up. Big ahas, big questions, feelings, concerns.
So you can.
All right, guys, thank you very much. If you guys need anything, don't hesitate to follow up.